Hi, I'm Peter with Shoot the Message, and this is the week in Misinformation. Before we get started, a couple of weeks ago I talked about the Russo-Ukrainian War, and how very soon you would see news about the Battle of Kherson, or Kherson, however you may say it. I pointed out that the really only reliable place to receive information was the mainstream media, because all the other sources of information were either locked down or filled with propaganda, and that the government blackout would lift when the city was liberated. If you head onto your favourite news sites now, you'll actually start seeing that news because the blackout has lifted and Kherson seems to be liberated. The Ukrainians have moved into the city, and really at the moment real life is an excellent update of that video. But this week what we're talking about is Twitter. Now, very recently, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, was actually forced, in a very funny other story that we don't have time for, to buy one of the world's largest social networks, Twitter, after he got into a complicated stock deal, pretty much. He bought it for about $44 billion, and he seems to regret it for a little bit, but very soon he kind of made it part of his brand. He entered the building as its new boss holding a sink, in reference to the "let that sink in" meme. As in, I just bought this entire thing, let that sink in, there are going to be changes. Very quickly he sacked a large amount of people, and this isn't out of any kind of malice or any other theory you may have seen online, but he is actually following something called the there are a few names for this. One of them is the agile business model, and there are a few other ones floating around Silicon Valley. He's following this trendy ideology of management, where you use the fewest people possible and automate as much as possible to basically derive the most profits from the least effort. This sounds a little bit malicious. If you're a worker, if you are some kind of equity investor, not so much. They kind of consider it genius. There's an excellent movie about American finances called The Big Short, about the situation leading up to the 2008 financial disaster that rippled around the world and made much of it poor. There's one line that really sticks out, which goes, "They mistook leverage for genius," as in these people were sitting on a gold mine. So they thought they were the smartest people in the world and not the most coincidentally rich. And in the news in the next couple of weeks, as this social media story involving the world's richest people, who are considered to be some of the smartest people in the world, kind of develops, and we see them making mistake after mistake, you're going to see that line in action. These things don't happen very often so publicly. And I don't know about you, but I really consider myself lucky to be living in this time. So let's get into a few of the theories kicking about Twitter and Musk's takeover, and just the incredible things that have happened, the misconceptions, and what's really going on. Now, the first one is about Twitter becoming a politically neutral kind of place to talk. Musk very famously tweeted after taking over the platform that comedy is allowed again. Everyone needs to be the good guy. Very few people carry out their politics and their power out of malice. Now, to understand people's motives and what they consider to be politically neutral, it helps to know about something called the Overton window. Now, there are many ways we explain this metaphor, but imagine politics is this building kind of here. It's kind of an oblong shape, and let's say you're fairly centrist, so right in the middle of this building is your window. This is where you see into it. This is your perspective of everything, and this is what you consider the entire world to be. Or maybe you live in a more conservative area, so your window is over here. Now, it's been there for all of the 20th century, but times have changed, technology has changed, and people begin to be laid off. So you start to expect more from your government, and you ask for some progressive policy. And people over time become less conservative. And so that window, that Overton window, begins to shift over as you ask for more things to be socialized, more money as an incentive to be a member of society, and to have that ability to survive in society. And this, very briefly, is the Overton window, your paradigm. And basically, all political minds want to shift your Overton window to their part of that building. And when our normal changes, our entire world changes, really. So we need to understand that everyone is biased. Everyone has their initial position, and someone else's neutral is going to look like you're restricted or you're too liberal. Now, Musk's perspective on this is that you can't make fun of him. He is the ruler, I suppose, a bit of a baron, and this is why he immediately went about banning people who hacked the system of Twitter as he made it. He needed money from news sources, so he basically made it so that the reviled blue check marks, these are people who have been approved as official channels, official news channels, official celebrities by Twitter. His side of politics, the more conservative side, really treat these people with contempt. They see them as an elite, as a kind of looking down on us class. So he decided to take them off everyone unless they paid $8 to Twitter. This resulted in a large amount of people, well, they went ahead and bought themselves a blue check mark and began imitating people, including Elon Musk. There are some absolutely brilliant ones here. Here's a fake George W. Bush talking about how he misses killing Iraqis. That's not great. Ted Cruz, prominent American politician, here he is saying, "I will eat your son, I will eat your infant daughter." Parody account, of course. And here is a very crucial one. Eli Lilly and Company, this is the company that owns insulin, and very notoriously recently really jacked up the price of insulin so that it's inaccessible to a lot of people. And this fake tweet reads, "We are excited to announce insulin is free now." This caused them to lose billions and billions of dollars practically overnight. This will have ramifications in the next couple of weeks. You can see big lawsuits happening. That is purely speculation on my part, I have to say, but you can't have nothing happen from that. This is the result of an oversight, and there may be an argument coming forth. Certainly I've seen talk about this online, that Elon Musk may have caused this by firing all the communication staff, the content moderators. And if you hop on Twitter now, you will see a lot of false news and easily debunked videos that are promoting fairly harmful causes that Twitter used to really come down on quite hard. But now they're allowed, so they're enjoying their newfound liberty. So we really need to sit back, think of our own biases, and as I say all the time on this channel, on this platform, ask who benefits. The next issue that we really want to look at the truth or fallacy of is that Twitter is failing and about to go bankrupt, or indeed Twitter is incapable of going bankrupt. Elon Musk himself has stirred up chat about this. He said very recently that Twitter may go bankrupt. Costume change. Now, when we figure out whether or not Twitter is about to fail, there are a couple of things that investors do that are actually pretty good exercises in critical thinking. First of all, there's a checklist of 3 things that we look at to kind of predict the trajectory of a company when it has begun or changed hands. 1, is the marketing good? Are people being informed about this company and what it does in the right way, an effective way that doesn't discredit the company, but really makes it look good and really gets it in your path where you're going to see it? Number 2 is, are the right people involved? Do these people have a proven record? Are they competent? Do you believe in them? Number 3 is service. Is this company actually fulfilling a need? Now, I'll let you think about this on your own, but I think the conclusions are kind of obvious. And that's the next thing that we look at when we work out whether Twitter's actually going to succeed. Which, little spoiler, I think it will, but not in the form we're currently seeing it as. And that big question is the company too big to fail? Now, this idea of too big to fail is basically that if a company is dependent on too much, if a big part of your society is going to collapse if this company or the big people involved in it just disappear overnight, then governments, I'm talking about literally entire governments, will not allow that company to go bankrupt. This has happened to banks, for example, in the 2008 financial crash. Now, you've probably thought about those 3 points, the marketing, the people involved, if it fulfills that need. And you've probably noticed that Twitter is not fulfilling those 3 at the moment. But I believe there are 2 aspects of Twitter that are too big to fail. One is the community. Now, it's too convenient. There are too many important people who have Twitter in their daily lives, in their daily habits. If there's a coffee shop on your route on the way to work, you're probably going to stop over there. If it's 1 block across, you'll probably never think about it. Likewise, these people go on Twitter to find the news or to maintain relationships that they have. I just think that the people find it too convenient to leave. The other aspect of this is Elon Musk himself. Now, he is the world's richest man technically, and he has a very loyal following. I don't think he will be allowed to fail as a person and to eat this gigantic public relations nightmare. Elon Musk notoriously does his own PR, and he is notoriously bad at it. But this is partly what enables him to, how can you put this? I don't want to accuse him of manipulating markets, but half the media is doing that for me, so I don't have to. And that brings us to the final thing that I want to look at and see if you can either confirm or debunk for yourself, which is that Elon Musk is the world's richest man. Now, there's a lot of debate around this that people don't generally know about, and that's because people don't generally realize that there are different types of wealth. There are different types of billionaires. The way we decide who is the world's richest person is that we take everything that has their name on it, legally speaking, and whoever has the biggest number of dollars, US dollars as just a nice kind of fiat. That's where, the World Trade Center was. It's where Wall Street is. So we generally count these things in American dollars. And Elon Musk has the most of them, technically. But there are different types of wealth, and different billionaires have different levels of ability to hand you $1 billion. Take Bill Gates, for example. He is an intellectual property billionaire. What this means is that he's sitting on the rights to a thing, or he invented a thing. And every time someone buys or updates their subscription, he receives that money. So for example, your Microsoft account every year, when you become informed that you've just spent $100 on Microsoft, Bill Gates now has that money, it's settled. It's the troll under the bridge who you give the gold coin to every time you go over. You've got to pay the troll toll if you want to get into your Microsoft Word. Then take Jeff Bezos, for example. He has a lot of his money tied up in warehouses, in freight, in infrastructure. If he wants to hand you $1 billion, he has to sell some warehouses. A lot of people are going to go out of work. Now, the vast majority of billionaires, if they want to give you a large amount of money, they either have to go through some very big negotiations or do some prison time if they do it wrong. Now, Elon Musk, this is where things get very interesting and very 21st century. He is mostly an equity billionaire, where some Silicon Valley bigwigs have looked at what he does and say, hey, I really like the idea of this. I promise you $1 billion. Go spend that on business. That is a stipulation under which I'm giving you this. You need to spend it on business expenses. And please avoid asking me to hand you the money. I promise you I'm giving you $1 billion. This is the source of pretty much all his wealth. And companies do avoid asking their investors for the money back. Generally, when this happens, it means the company is about to fail. In finance, the most common version of this is called a margin call, and it's a source of a lot of fear for finance people. So Elon Musk, his fortune is mostly tied up in people who have gotten excited about him, and you can see this on a lot of forums. The Musk fanboys, and in fact that wealthy class in Silicon Valley and beyond have kind of joined those ranks and guaranteed him this money and this idea of money. And most of the world is upheld by this. After all, your country doesn't have its entire GDP in gold coins just sitting there. It's in tokens. It's in bills, for example, which originally had written on them, "We owe you $10 or 10 pounds of silver," for example. And this is the state of most wealth these days. But it also means that Elon Musk is the person least able to hand you $1 billion if you really need it from him. So when the Twitter deal came along, and all of a sudden he owed $44 billion, he had to take out some loans. He had to begin leveraging those companies that he already owned. A little bit like Jeff Bezos, if he wants to give you some money, he has to sell the warehouses. Currently, we're seeing Tesla partly paying for Twitter, which is just a fascinating thing. I'd like to conclude this by repeating what I think is the really central point in all of this, which is that Twitter may collapse in its current form, but the people aren't going anywhere. And the servers, just keeping them up, just keeping this domain on the internet, is probably one of their smallest expenses. And where there is need, that need will generally be fulfilled. It's too convenient. People are willing to pay for things that are on their daily route. That daily route, if something is in your sight, it's in your mind. And if it's in your mind, often it becomes your habit. And that's what we dedicate our energy to, including our financial energy. Or we can do something even more convenient and become the product. Anyway, if this was helpful, and I hope it was, I run a media literacy platform called Shoot the Message, where I help people understand the messages that are all around us, to keep safe and to keep well informed among them. And I really hope you'll support me, because the more support I get, the more content I can give you and the better quality I can give you. I do have some exciting plans. I want to get into some original research. I have books planned. I'd love to give talks. I really believe that this is the first time in history that you can get ahead of the misinformation and reach people before those agendas reach them. So hit the links. Head to shootthemessage.substack.com. Check everything out. Check it out now. It's in the description.